Question of the day. What's the last time you played a game and you felt smart? Because today we're going to talk about a game that is a derivative or a smaller version of a game that absolutely doesn't make you feel smart. In fact, the name of Cryptid, the original game, should be subtitled Why I Feel Like a Moron on My First Playthrough. Now the second playthrough you kind of pick it up and get it. But no joke, I have never felt so stupid when playing Cryptid the first time and other people have played it and they're like, well yeah, it's obviously this or this, it's clearly going to be here. And I'm like, I don't know how you're doing it. Am I taking crazy pills here? But, little Zoolander. But this one is the derivative version. This is Cryptid Urban Legends. When I say derivative, I mean it's in the same idea. You're doing some sort of mental gymnastics to figure out how to best your opponent. And this one is a one-on-one game, which one person plays the scientist, one person plays the cryptozoological animal. Clearly looks like the Mothman. And then you got to outplay them in order to find the escape, essentially, or capture them. But it's an abstract game using math, well, not math necessarily, but strategy and logic. Anyway, look, here's how it plays. We'll come back up and talk final thoughts right now. So this is Cryptid Urban Legends setup. Now it is a two-player game, but just remember the active row and the inactive row. That will change during the round which one has cubes in it, but at the start of the sensor phase, which is the beginning of the round, the active row is the row of buildings here, city spaces. These are city building spaces and these are the blocks in between. The active row will be the one that involves the cubes on it at the beginning of the round. Now, what you're going to do in the sensor phase is you're going to take turns. Now you will get 3 cards and the other player will get 3 cards. Now it's a hard 4-card limit. Of the cards you will play them. So for instance, this would be split. So I will then take all the cubes from here and I will split them into 2 different sections here based on that. So now those are split up evenly. Actually, I did that wrong. It would be this, and then that there. So now I've chosen to play the split card, so that would go in my discard pile. Now we both have a special power that once it's basically a wild card that you get to flip up and use once an evidence token has been placed by the opponent. We'll talk about how to do that in just a minute. You'll do the sensor phase until all the cubes essentially have been placed out here. So let's just say we've got them out here now. Then the Cryptid player will choose a feature. Now that would be a number or a color combination. So in our case, you couldn't use a color combination. Well, you could. You could say a color combination, red, white, and black. You could say Neapolitan, essentially. You will start with a presence token here in this central space. So now the rule is you must choose a feature, so that could be color combination or number, and then you'll check both sides of a city space. So this one here, we're gonna say Neapolitan, red, white, black here, boom, boom. This side has it, this side has it, and it's diagonally adjacent to a presence tile, which means we could then put a presence token there. Now what's essentially trying to happen is they are trying to get a presence token on the far left and the far right space of the inactive row. Now there also must be 7 city spaces out there, so you can't win as the Cryptid on the first round. However, the Cryptid is captured, the scientist can win. If there are 1 or fewer presence counters on city blocks, the game ends and the scientist wins. Now I will say, it is very hard. I honestly can't fathom a way for the Cryptid not to be able to place a presence token on the first round, which would essentially be how the scientist would win the first round. But the other thing you can say in the sensor phase, you can choose a number. When you announce a number of sensors, only city blocks with that exact number of sensors in 2 adjacent spaces combined are considered to match a feature. So that's what I'm saying. You could have just said 7. Well, this one doesn't have 7. Boom, it's not eligible. This one does have 7. Okay, well, cool. I guess I can put it here. See, that's what I'm saying. It's almost impossible not to be able to put one. So I don't quite know how you'd lose on the first round, other than it's mathematically possible if you're just make a mistake and be like, oh, I can't play one. At which point the other player should be like, you sure you don't want to do that? Anyway, that's just first round kindness. Combination of colors, you check it on both sides though. So it's not a combination. It's not like, oh, I have a red here and a black and a white here. It's this one is all 3 and this one's all 3. That's why I brought that up, is because colors are specific for both sides. Numbers is a combination of the both sides. If that has happened and and nobody has won and the time hasn't run out, essentially, if there's no city blocks left here, you'll move to the next phase. The next phase is the restrict phase. So the scientist then will then take off either the far left 2 or far right 2. Now in the first round you wouldn't have that, but essentially ignore that for a minute. essentially you'd be able to take off these 2 cards off the board. Now, the way that works is that's how you're removing presence tokens. So if we were to do this, now again, you can't do this yet, but if I were to remove these 2, boop, just like that, that would actually win the game for me. Lastly, the expand phase. Now remember, even though the cubes are on that side now, the inactive row is the end of the round where the cubes are. At the beginning of the round, it's where the cubes are, is the active row. The end of the round where the cubes are is the inactive row. The player closest to the active row, which is this side, remember, now draws the top 2 cards and puts them on the corners like this. If this were to happen, you would immediately put out an evidence token, the person who did it. So if it was the scientist, you would do it, and if it was the other, they would do it. If the time does run out, all these have been drawn. The person with the most evidence cubes gathered gains those. The way you gather them is me, as the scientist, pulls these tokens off the board when I do the restrict phase. The cryptid gains it by placing a presence token there. That's how you gain them. Now again, when someone gains an evidence token, the other player gets to flip over their special card. The game ends if the cryptid is captured or if the cryptid escapes, or if the time runs out, the person with the most evidence tokens gains the victory. Now, that is a lot to wrap and to understand, especially when you start playing and trying to restrict and trying to stop people and think, where could they be going, or how can I make this move ahead? It seems simple looking at there's cubes and discs. There's a ton of strategy involved in this game. So that is Cryptid Urban Legends. Now, if you like the original Cryptid, I'm going to go ahead and say right now, you'll like this game because there's a lot of puzzly nature. Also, if you like games like Onitama and Corridor and other kind of abstract games, you're going to like this game because it's all about moving and manipulating things on a board to better strategically position yourself in a way that advantageously helps you win. Now, art, the game looks great. I think it looks like one of the better art games out there for a small box game with a abstract theme. It's cool. Like the cards look good, the art looks good, the city even looks good. I like the nice kind of cloudy cubes that it gives you. So all in all, in the box, small box game, it looks good. Now, as far as how you play the game, this is a difficult game to learn. And I mean that. You can teach it, and you can get it, and it still will take you several plays to kind of quite get, okay, I know how to win. For instance, I'm still struggling, and let me know in the comments below, how would you lose as the cryptid on the first turn? It says you can, but I'm just not sure how, unless you totally botch your turn, you could do that. And maybe that's how. But I like how this game plays. It is very difficult. It's hard to understand at first, but once you get it, you can start to manipulate and maneuver in such a way. However, the learning curve is pretty big, and I'm no expert at it. Don't hear me say this is like I'm some brilliant statistician, mathematician, strategery person. Obviously, you just heard me say any of the words I've just said. Not the case, but difficult to learn, fun to play, quick to play. Cryptid Urban Legends. If you like the original, you'll like this. If you like games that involve a challenge to learn to play, a puzzle, if you will, baby. Dusty Roads. Y'all saw Cody return, right? Amazing. Anyway, if you will, this game is for you. If you like the strategy of Onitama, the push and pull, the tug and war of a two-player abstract game, you're going to like this game. If you do not like that feeling of feeling dumb, do not play this game. If you don't like abstract strategy games, do not play this game. This has a very good audience, but it's a specific audience in really, really loving this game. But other people are going to play, go, oh, that was pretty cool. Let's try something else because my brain hurts, you know? So it is difficult to play, but it's not impossible. It's easier to learn than the original Cryptid, and it's easier to master than the original Cryptid, in my opinion, because you're only doing 2 rolls. So all in all, Cryptid Urban Legends is a very cool concept, a very cool game that looks good, that will alienate some people based on difficulty, but will be very enjoyable to people who like abstract games like that. So that is Cryptid Urban Legends, Osprey Games. I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Till next time, we'll see you.